Hello, Secret Keepers. Due to technical difficulties, we have no guests this week, so that means you are stuck with the two of us doing whatever we want for about an hour. How does that sound, Danny?
No, I didn't sign up for that. I thought we had a guest today.
Well, too bad we don't. That and so much less on today's episode of the Megamall Studios Super Secret Podcast. Shh. Don't tell anybody about this episode.
I doubt anyone will.
Welcome back to the show, Secret Keepers. I'm your host, desperately searching for a soundboard, or at least a fart box / air horn combo, Joel Watts, joined as always by...
Danny, interviewing people to replace me on the podcast.
Okay, and today we are joined by no one. So we will be getting into some of the recent developments with Megamall Studios and X Seekers of Fortune, if we can stay on topic. So, about staying on topic, how about we get right into the question of the week?
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
There's no telling what you've got cooked up for us this week.
It's time for the question of the week, brought to you by Danny Ayub.
No. You wrote this. 100% full stop. You wrote this.
So many lies. Danny, today our local convention, Comicpalooza, made a pretty big guest announcement. Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, and that other guy who was in Back to the Future. They are going to be the Saturday guests for the big event. That's pretty exciting stuff, and it inspired me to ask you a Back to the Future related question that isn't which of your ancestors you'd most want to... I'm looking at you, great. In all seriousness, if you could travel... In all seriousness, if you could travel to the year 2100, what technological advances and societal changes would you expect to find there, and which descendant would you most want to... Looking at you, great.
I did not write that for you. That's not the line I wrote.
Kissing cousins indeed, Danny. So
for those at home, so they know, what does the line actually say?
I'm looking at you, distant future clone of myself.
There you go. I thought really hard about what's the least creepy descendant that you could have with, and it's definitely a clone of yourself, not a...
I blew right past that.
Yeah, you did. You went right into the red zone.
I don't know. I was inspired. I even knew that you had written something for me, but I didn't even read it. That just was the first thing that came to my mind.
I wonder if this is the promo that gets us kicked out of the Comicpalooza podcast partnership program. They're like, oh, cool. They're talking about Back to the Future. Oh, yeah, wow.
No. Oh, no.
This went off the rails.
Yeah. No, I think that... I think we could just bleep that if anything. What do you, folks in the comments, what do you think is the least creepy and most creepy descendant?
There's so many answers to that. Literally all the answers to that are creepy.
But we're veering off course already, Danny. What about the technology, the 2100? What do you think is going to be out there?
So hard to say, right? Like, I think with the advance of AI, we may be heading towards a pretty... exponential climb in the type of technology that we have. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking indefinite life, personalized medicine. Hopefully we have some kind of box that just makes you whatever you want to eat.
Oh my God. That would be so great.
Yeah. I think I would still eat out all the time though. Like, I don't want to eat out of the box today. I want to go down the street and eat out of the box they have.
The box that only has like Mexican cuisine in it. The box that only has Italian cuisine in it. Like,
I don't know about societal changes. I have this theory I always think about, which is like when we get to the point where our lifespan is basically indefinite. No one dies of natural causes anymore. All disease can be treated. And really the only thing that causes people to die is like freak accidents, which is strange, right? Like you have to live long enough.
Much more tragic, I assume. Like,
oh yeah. Like imagine like everyone's untimely end is like some version of Final Destination. Like that's a weird world to live in. There's a lot of weird features about living indefinitely that concern me. One, like there's never any sort of passage of wealth between generations. So like the people who were there at the beginning of living forever are extremely wealthy, and everyone below them is probably like some form of like servant.
Yeah.
But the real thing is like if you're living for hundreds and hundreds of years, I think you have to start thinking of your life as being like many lives. Like you're playing all these different roles. You know, you could conceivably be a teacher at an elementary school and a lawyer and a doctor and a pilot and just like so many different, you know, vocations, so many different relationships. There's so many institutions and constructs that we have in our lives that I think cease to make sense when you take away, you know, the finiteness of life. I think it's going to be an interesting thing. I mean, people are going to be having midlife crises every so often, you know, it's going to be weird.
Yeah. Like, you know, like I don't, we'll have to come up with a different term for it. It's just going to be like, I'm bored of the current life I'm living. I've maxed out. So, and you know what, it'll probably cause people to change careers so more rapidly. Like, there's probably plenty of people who get into like year 30 of being a doctor and they're like, I've learned everything I could. I'd rather go and learn something else, but I only have like maybe 20 more years ahead of me. I don't have the time in order to make that change. So they just stick with being a doctor for the last part of their career. So you might actually see people like turn their careers over much quicker. I've always thought, I mean, I've thought for a while now that living indefinitely would be very problematic for like the main reason that you mentioned up top, which like basically whoever gets there first and whoever lives the longest, it just gets to be the most powerful member of society, whether it be through wealth accumulation or, you know, seniority. I mean, we're already seeing this problem, may I point out, with how long the baby boomers are sticking in their, you know, in their fields. Whether it be politics or business, I mean, they're not making room and space for the next generation to grow and to mature. And so imagine that, but it never ends. It would be.
It's like that video have you ever seen that video of like the moving walkway and then like there's like the older gentleman who's got the cart and he can't, like it like tips over and then it collapses and then like another older person tips over and collapses on top of them and it's just like a pileup of people on a moving walkway.
I haven't seen that video. It sounds horrible.
Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. But
okay.
Metaphor.
Yeah. I actually, I mean, and I know that sounds counterintuitive because you think, and this is like why, well, we're going to get into it today. This is why, like, what you think is the best thing for society, you know, and what sounds the best for society at first blush isn't always because of the knock-on effects. But I honestly think that like indefinite lifespan is actually problematic and maybe should even be thought of as something we should potentially ban. Or, you know, it's like whenever it comes about, we're definitely going to have some solid questions that we have to ask ourselves. But that's a huge can of worms.
100%. Yeah. Last thing I'll say on that is just like, I think the answer is that we need just a reform of the way economics work and prosperity is shared. You know, I think there's ways to do that within a capitalist model, but not our current capitalist model.
Yeah, definitely. It's we're hopefully in an in between spot right now. I mean, when are we not? Humanity is always at an in between spot. It's just whether you're closer to the end of something or closer to the beginning of something. But I would say that hopefully in the world where you have the box that can feed you anything, that'll change economics a lot.
I would hope so.
Okay, so I'm just trying to think of I'm just trying to project because obviously things have changed so rapidly from 1960 to today, and we have, you know, this coming spatial computing technology on the horizon that's going to yet again potentially change everything if it takes off. So I'm just trying to imagine, like, I have a feeling like even though it's going to look very bleak from the outside looking into the future, I have a feeling we're going to become less concerned with the like accommodations immediately around us. We're probably just going to go purely for function over form. And because like we're going to end up like living in a world where all the details are painted. So like, you know, you could have a beige, just the most comfortable, ergonomic beige chair, but then like your eyes or your computer will paint over it with a throne of your choice. So I'm just wondering if like we're going to end up like with a world where everything looks almost like we're on the set of like motion capture with like weird props and blue screens, but then like when you're actually looking at it through probably what would be contact lenses or replacement eyes at that point or something like that, you'll see a robust world. And so like it's all going to be super subjective from that perspective. So I guess that's the thing. It's like it's probably going to have like that, like, what is the movie, THX whatever 13 something
1158
is 1158
THX.
Yeah, just like that dystopia, a good idea, that dystopia, like, oh, everything looks the same and sterile, but it's because it's not because we're in some sort of 1984 future of conformity. It's because we're in some future where the world the world as we see it doesn't exist.
You know what's crazy about
all existing in a different world. What's so crazy about that?
Think about like what you just said about existing in a different world. Like so much of what we do is like, hey, it's over there by the red chair. Well, if everyone has like their own painting over of the world, how do we even like a lot of what we do to kind of like relate around where things are and becomes a lot more difficult. Like I'm sure we solve that problem somehow, but if my point of reference is different than your point of reference because of like the personal preference that we're painting over the world, that adds just another weird layer of confusing communication.
That is something that would probably have to be figured out. It's that would be like in the early days of this whole technology happening. Like, the companies that make the technology will probably figure out the language that we'll have to use, or like create maybe a variety of waypoints that are objective, around a given space. So there will be some anchors of objective reality that we all share. That's very interesting. I never thought of that one, Danny. Good one. And yeah, I think I'm going to stick with clone of myself as my partner.
Oh, I did answer that.
Yeah, you're probably for the best, Danny.
Yeah, no. I'm just going to say I wouldn't do that because, I mean, that's not right. I mean, they're your relative, right?
Well, I guess.
Or their self, I guess, in your scenario.
Yeah. I mean, of course, this all depends on if I'm into myself, which if anything is to be believed, I would not be. So
nice.
Yeah. And
wait, why would you not be into yourself?
I think it's just a self-deprecating I hate myself joke.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. All right, Danny. Well, I think we came up with some interesting visions and consequences of the future there. But if you have your own ideas of what the year 2100 is going to look like, or which relatives, descendants you'd most like to boink, please leave them in the comments below. I'm seeing here that we also need you to like and subscribe as always. And Danny says for every subscriber we get, I'll attempt to seduce one of the inanimate objects turned lovers from my strange addiction to cheat on their lover with them.
With you.
Oh my goodness. Danny, are you turning me into a homewrecker? You're going to have me making love to some stapler that's near and dear to some gentleman's heart.
Oh no, dude. Like these are like amusement park rides. Have you seen that lady who's got like the thing with like I think it's like a Ferris wheel or something.
Oh my God. No, I this is the kind of television or programming I tend not to watch. A Ferris wheel. So she has a love for a Ferris wheel. Like, is it special? How would you seduce
a Ferris wheel?
I see you're going all the way up there. Shame if you were to do it all alone. I know that that over there operates you. Let me get you high.
You know what? I think we may need to change to something random today.
Well, why don't you work on that, and I'll work on putting this episode back on the tracks. All right, Danny. All right, folks at home, we have some general updates that we want to get with you. As we said at the top, our guest, who we can't wait to share with you their story and their philosophy on gaming and game design. They unfortunately had an internet issue right before we went into recording, so this is a slapdash of an episode, but we do have some important announcements, some important updates that we just thought we'd go over with you. So at the very top, we're going to talk about an event that we're going to be a part of that we're very excited about. You might have already seen the announcement, and we alluded to it earlier, but Danny and I, Megamoth Studios, the Super Secret Podcast, are going to be at the Comicpalooza 2024 event. We're going to be at
an event.
It is an event. It's Comicpalooza. That's the event in the year 2024, this Memorial Day weekend coming up here in May. And, we're just really proud to be a part of their podcast program. And we're really hoping that means that we're going to be able to perform live for an audience. So, Danny, why don't we first start out with, if you're going into Comicpalooza, what can you expect from X Seekers of Fortune there at Comicpalooza?
Yeah, so we're going to be set up in the gaming rooms. Last year it was upstairs, and it's a great place to come if you like role-playing games or you want to try different board games. People set up on tables. There's a ton of tables up there, and the Adventure Begins, which is my local game store up here in Conroe, Texas, sponsors the room. They do a fantastic job. And it's just a great opportunity to hang out with people and play tabletop games at Comicpalooza, which is super cool because while there are a lot of tabletop things going on at Comicpalooza, it's not a gaming first convention like a PAX Unplugged or something like that. But there is still plenty of amazing tabletop experiences to be had. And X Seekers of Fortune will be set up in that room. We're going to have a number of games set up with the playmats, the brand new cards, the official cards, and we are going to be there to play with you, to show you the game and have some fun. We'll be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, pretty much from open to close, with a whole team of people to set you up.
Yeah, we're going to be going hard all 3 days, so just please come by and check it out. I mean, once you're done walking the convention floor, before it's time to see a meet and greet Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd, why don't you come up to the room and we will show you how to play X Seekers of Fortune, and you'll get possibly your first hands-on experience with our latest prototypes. And you'll get to meet other fans of the game. I believe your brother Lucas is going to be there. I think we have a couple of other fans from the
Editor Will.
You'll get to meet the elusive Will. Annie should be there as well. Lovely Annie.
At Mads on TikTok, Madison.
Yeah, Madison has said that she's also going to be there teaching. These are all some of our favorite people to play the game with. People who
Laird.
Make it to Tuesday Night X. Yeah, Laird's going to stop by. You might be able to meet Laird face to face.
You may be able to lose to him in person.
Yeah, because he is tough competition, and he will show you how the game is really played.
That's
how he does it.
Laird was like one of the very first people to even play X Seekers of Fortune last year at Comicpalooza. Yes. And he's returning in 2024, a year later. And instead of playing with a print and play prototype, he will be playing with the real deal, the manufacturer prototype. So very excited to share that with Laird and to celebrate 1 year of being friends with Laird.
Yeah, if we had known that Laird was going to become so integral to our to X Seekers of Fortune and be one of the first super fans, I would have loved to have gotten him like holding up the cards, the print and play cards last year, a picture, so that way we could remake the picture with the current cards. That would have been a great little like swipe reveal. I think you did something like that on your TikTok with our very first prototype and our current cards.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, so basically you can expect us there all 3 days. We're just going to be plastered in that room. There might be one time that we all step away.
Whoa. We're not going to be plastered. We'll be sober, Joel. We're going to be sober in the room.
We'll be firmly planted in the room. Can we say that?
Are we talking with plotting soil, or is this like do you what? I think this is where sending some pretty confusing. Figurative. Okay.
Yeah. We're going to be in that room. So you'll find somebody from Megamoth Studios in that room, ready to teach you the game, assuming we're not swarmed by crowds and there's a wait list, which could happen.
Wouldn't be the first time.
But we're not only there to demo X Seekers of Fortune this year. We're also going to be there as part of their partnership podcast partnership program, and we're hopefully going to be doing an episode of the Super Secret podcast there at Comicpalooza. Now, we don't have any details on this quite yet, do we, Danny?
Well, we know we're going to be doing it on the floor in front of a live audience unless we're kicked out of the program between now and then, which is possible after this episode.
Yeah, depending on how good Will is at snipping up this episode.
Yeah. No, but we're going to be there. We're super excited. Last year, we went, and it was before the podcast. In fact, our very first episode of the Super Secret Show, before it was even called the Super Secret Show, was called Comicpalooza 2023, and it was a recap of the event.
Yeah.
And a year later, we're going back, and the podcast at this point is over 40 episodes in, and we will be doing our first live show in front of an audience at Comicpalooza, and we've got a lot of wacky things in store. We're not, we've never done this in front of people and a stage, and we like to get up to some stupid things. So I would expect a lot of that.
Yeah, I sorry, I just got like starry-eyed. I was just imagining just being on that stage and all the great people that are going to be there. It's just lovely that we're part of an event that will feature, we said earlier, Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd. My big get, if we could just shake his hands or pass by in the same room as him, but John Cena is going to be there as well. So just to think that those greats are going to be there as guests of honor, and our show is also part of the Comicpalooza. It just feels so nice to be kind of, at the very least, looking at the stars, and they're big and bright and clear in our vision, and making our way towards being up in those up in those skies with them.
I feel like I'm connecting some dots here that I've never connected before. I've never really understood what you meant when you said that John Cena looks like your great, 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 great Aunt Susan. But now I have a whole new appreciation for that comment.
Mm-hmm. Oh, boy. The Oscars this past year. Whew, boy.
Woo!
Oh, my goodness. I just start thinking about them and I get a little starry-eyed. Whew. But suffice to say, details will be emerging. We'll let you know. Follow us. In fact, follow us now on social media. We will be sure to announce when and where our live show will be at Comicpalooza, how you can see us there, and how you can support us in the lead up to Comicpalooza 2024. So just be on the lookout. Go to social media. Share with your friends. This is the time. They will love to say that they were there to see the first live episode.
And last.
Not last. We're going to become a live show at all the major gaming conventions, as long as I have a beating heart. That's our goal. But to say the least, we will be there. It's going to be monumental. That might be it. Momentous. Those are all wonderful words to describe what the event is going to be like.
Will you be plastered?
Not before, but maybe after.
Yeah, not on the grounds. Don't worry, Comicpalooza. We're going to be on our best behavior.
Yes, and in our best costumes as well.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Hey, shh. Don't tell anybody about it. Actually, no, that's a lie. Tell everybody about it. But let's go ahead and move on, because we are excited. Like we mentioned at the last Comicpalooza in 2023, we showed up with basically magic cards inside of sleeves with printed out pieces of paper that we slid in front of them to make what looked like a regular set of cards for a game that didn't exist yet. And that game was X Seekers of Fortune, or is. But now we have an update about the production of the game, and we have here our prototype from our manufacturer, which is Watts Games. Is it called Watts?
It's called Watts.
Watts? I should have asked, is it called Watts Games?
It's called Watts Games.
Yeah, so Watts Games, this prototype is so wonderful. We had some other mock ones made up, and they turned out pretty well. But then this lift on the box, my goodness, it feels like I'm opening my iPhone for the first time. Ooh.
I know. It's such a, dare I say, sexy feeling.
Yes. So it is just tight on there, just slides right on and comes off with that nice suction feeling. It is perfect. But what do we have in the box now? This isn't the complete game, but already we have, well, first off, of course, the cards. These blocks of cards right here, the print quality on them is amazing. The dark blacks, are you can really tell like like what happens when a real manufacturer prints it with their methods. So you can see their blade edge bargain right there. I could crack these open here in a moment, but before I do that, let's just go over the other things that we have in the box as of now, and there's going to be more to come. There's 2 other items that you're going to our review copies are going out with. The first one is the player reference card, and that has the heroic feats on one side, and then just a quick overview of some terms and clarifications and icons on the other. So you can easily just keep that out next to you during a game so you can consult what your strategic options are. And then the other item, which has actually confused some of our friends when they received their copies, these are our card dividers. So as you may know, X Seekers of Fortune has 3 decks, 3 different decks that it uses. So we include these card dividers that are just a little bit taller than the playing card. See, if you look here, just a little bit steps out over it, but that'll help you divide the decks. Danny, what are your thoughts on this while I open up one of these card packages?
I feel like the quality of the cards is phenomenal. We used a 310 GSM, very similar in thickness to something like Magic. I think Magic uses like 312 GSM. I don't think that you can tell the difference. It's a very nice feel in the hand. And the cards are, I believe, black core. So they've got really beautiful colors. The printing is phenomenal. I think that the prototype maybe is a tad darker than what the final print is going to be. But these cards are the real thing. And I'm like so in love with them. It's crazy.
I've always heard about the bend test. I don't know exactly what the bend test is, but I'm going to do some bending in front of you folks.
Ben from Affect?
No, bend test. Bend. Yeah.
Been there, done that?
Yeah, sure. But just some ASMR there for y'all.
Yeah, that's the sound of a card being flicked.
Yeah, quality cards. I'm really excited to show. We're actually have an event that's going to have already happened by the time you're seeing this, but our event in Dallas, or the Dallas area, Burleson to be specific, and we're bringing our prototypes for the first time for our first major event, and we're just excited to get to see what people think when the first thing they see is this version of the game. I just want to get some clean reactions from these folks. Anyways, I'm opening the lead decks. They came basically the Adventures and the Action X cards came in one little package, and then the leads came in another package. So we're just really proud. This gave us so much confidence in Watts Gaming, and we're really happy. I believe our contact over there is a TikTok persona. Are we allowed to talk about him? Is he open about that?
Yeah, I think so. It's Drew Denning. Welcome to Boredom. Drew's been phenomenal. Look, if you are looking for a manufacturer for your game, we've really enjoyed working with Watts. They've been really, really helpful. Their quality has been great. I feel like their pricing is extremely competitive. Their components and materials are fantastic. And if you want somebody to work with stateside, I mean, Drew's the guy. He's super, super invested in making sure that your game gets produced the way that you want it to. He's a lover of games. And I can't say enough good things about working with Drew.
Yeah, he had so many, like we contacted him after we had opened up our boxes, and he had so many questions for us, just trying to get down to the bottom of if we were fully satisfied with the product. He wanted to see it himself. That's how invested he is. So I'm just holding up the leads here. One of our favorite aspects of the game is the lead design, since they are so prominent in the game. You have to, you
really get that full art Magic Land feeling from holding them, and like the really nice ones, right? Like we're talking like full John Avon. Which ones are they? Is it which
Unhinged?
set is that? Is it Unhinged, John?
I think that's my peak Magic full art land, is the Unhinged full art lands.
Let me see if I agree with that. I do think that for me, I do like the Unhinged John Avon lands the best. Personally, those are also my favorite.
It's the only time I feel like it's the only time that they did a pure square corner border on all the land cards. I feel like every time since then, it's always been like a curve. There's been a curvature to the borders around the art, between the art and the border of the card. So I feel like it's they just have always felt a little compromised ever since then.
Yeah, I feel like there's a new. Hold on. There's a. What was it? Unstable. Sorry, my favorite are the unstable.
Oh, okay.
The unstable lands. But the unhinged lands were my favorite until the unstable lands were printed.
I'm sure I would not turn my nose up at the unstable lands too. I can't think of what makes them unique off the top of my head. The only other one that I would want to go with is the full rules lands.
Oh yeah, because you love rules.
Yeah. Well, I used to, back in the day when I was playing Magic in high school, I actually sought out the lands that's, instead of having the mana symbol just big in the box, that actually said tap to produce, green mana, the ones that actually had it spelled out. So
Wait,
I think,
when were those printed?
I think that was like I forgot what set it officially changed, but it was like Urza Saga and before.
Interesting. I feel like it was even older than that. But that's a great question.
Yeah. So, and I'm sorry, I'm just looking at all the art here. I'm getting sucked in. Last night, Danny and I actually took, one of our artists has twice as many arts in the game as the next artist, and that's Slobodan. He's such a phenomenal artist. You'll recognize him from Blade Edge Bargain, which I have right here. There's his probably our favorite, Ruckus Bazaar, which was confirmed last night, because what we did when we had the cards is we actually separated out all his cards, and then we both rank ordered our choices for like our favorite Slobodan card. And it's just fun to be able to do that for the first time, like be able to lay everything out.
100%.
I also keep telling Danny, like, now that we have the cards, we should take one of these sets, especially maybe one of the old ones that we're not going to use anymore that aren't as good of quality, and use the cards to pin up on a board to become our like storyboards for the story. So that way we have, like, we know it's like it starts with this card and it ends with that card, and we just have to write to each of the cards.
That's the cool thing about the way we've constructed the lore, because we actually designed the game, like the way we designed X Seekers of Fortune was very much like a back and forth between mechanics and flavor, to the point that once we had kind of gotten all the flavor for like the general adventure tropes infused with the mechanics for the cards, we then took those cards, and that's what we built our arc over. I think in the future we'll probably lead with story and then have cards that mirror the story. But in this one, we had these tropes and we constructed a story around the tropes that has gone beyond it, which then led us to go back to the cards and make some adjustments and tell the story. I mean, the characters from the story are on the cards, because by the time we got to the point where we were commissioning art, we knew the story already. We knew how we wanted each of these cards to embody these moments, these iconic moments. And you'll see when you look at X Seekers of Fortune, there's 4 different leads. There's Myth, Rune, Vision, and Glyph. And each of them have a main character associated with it. For Rune, we have Jericho Stone. With Myth, we have Akaya. For Vision, we have Ana Lucia. And for Glyph, we have the Broker. And we tell each of those characters' stories through the card. So you get to see the iconic moments through the first half of this story through the card art.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I've said it before, but I'll say it again. And until we release a comic book or some version of the story, we would love to hear y'all, try to figure it out. Like, what do you think happens in the story based on the card art? That will definitely be something that'll, maybe it potentially inspire us, for future story ideas, but definitely will make us feel, intrigued to see y'all's rendition. Now, one other thing I want to point out before I put away the prototype is, you can see our ambition, but also our foresight here in how much of the deck box this fills up. The deck box that the cards come with is extra long, for 2 reasons. A, because we believe that a lot of y'all will want to sleeve your decks, which means that it'll take up about a little more than 50%. Putting all these cards in sleeves will make this go from like, a quarter or a third of full to like 50% full. But also, we needed to make room for extra cards that we're going to be printing between now and the next set, in that we're going to release in some form, some expansion system, probably much like booster packs that have the same cards amongst them. So that way you can expand your collection, because we are an XCG, expandable card game. So there's going to be more Action X cards released, maybe even more adventure cards released in between now and our next set. So don't be surprised if this box gets pretty full by then.
And so I've got my box open up here. And so you can see, Joel, if you could hold yours up, maybe we can almost do a split screen of this moment.
Yeah,
so my cards are fully sleeved. So you can see, why it was necessary to put this big of a box. There's a lot less room here once the sleeved cards are in there. And there are going to be expansion cards outside of this box set that will be available relatively soon after release that you'll want to have space for in here as well, as Joel stated.
Yeah, exactly. But that's an overview of the cards. And if y'all want to see more of this, we have these boxes ready to go. Danny's prolific on TikTok. So if you want to get like some close-up footage before you make your decision to back us on Kickstarter or not, just reach out and we'll provide you with whatever you're looking for. And also as a reminder, Kickstarter is coming up June 4th. We've decided that's going to be our launch date, and we want you there day one. So do us the favor, go to xseekersoffortune.com and sign up for our VIP registration, our VIP reservation, I should say. For $1 down that you pay us today, you will be you will gain access to our first special promotion card, which will be the card Ancestral Dream. And that will be at the very least, it'll be a hollow foil with a first edition stamp on it, so that everybody you show it to will know that you backed the game before it even went to Kickstarter. You backed the game in preparation for the Kickstarter. That's how you could really show your support for X Seekers of Fortune today and moving forward up until January 4th. Once it goes to January 4th, that offer is not going to be out there any longer. You're probably going to have to wait a while to even get the next printing of Ancestral Dreams, which will probably come out in one of those expansion booster packs with different art and no first edition stamp. Excellent. Well, Danny, that's the state of production for X Seekers of Fortune. We are sending it out to some reviewers. Who can they expect to, if they want to get some opinions about the game from outsiders, an overview video, who could they expect to see that from on TikTok?
Yeah, so I'm not going to go too much into details as of yet. I mean, I think DG Walker has already put out an unboxing ASMR video. If you're on Board Game TikTok, a lot of your favorite Board Game TikTok personalities are going to have the game to show off here, and some of the larger content creators as well in the coming weeks. We'll share more on that soon, but as of now, just keep your eyes peeled, because the prototypes are in the hands of the overviewers, and you'll start to get to see more and more of what this game looks like through their eyes.
100%. We're really excited to see, to get that feedback from them, and for them to expose the game to so many more people outside of our core audience. And another thing, if you want to get some exposure to the game or share it with your friends and family who might be interested in the game, we have some new videos going up on the X Seekers of Fortune YouTube channel. I'm sure Will link them somewhere, either up on the screen or down below in the comments. But we have two videos. One is Danny and I playing the game, demoing it for you, walking through a gameplay. So it's really a nice experience. If you love the podcast, you love listening to us, we kind of lay out the game and how to play it. But that one runs about 45 minutes. So if you want something a little shorter and to the point, Will and his wife Annie actually worked on their own video that is just a quick overview of how to play the game, and showing off all the different cards, all the different things that you can do in the game. So either one of those videos is a great way to kind of get your feet wet with X Seekers of Fortune, and I would highly recommend listening and watching those.
The short one in particular is great if you don't like listening to us. If you don't like the podcast or you find us obnoxious, I would totally recommend the shorter version.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if
we're
you're
not even anywhere near it.
If you're a glutton for punishment. I know, I was kind of thinking that Will and Andy were going to ask me to record the voiceover, and then they got your talented brother Lucas to do it, and so I was a little bit oh darn, I wish it was my voice, but now I'm thinking, you know what? There's probably some people out there who, due to the podcast, hate me. So probably best that they have an option to learn the game without listening to me.
You would not believe how many letters I get saying that, hey, man, that Joel guy, is there any way we could do the podcast with someone else?
Okay, well, how about... I didn't think you were going to keep going on. Well, what were you going to say, Danny? How do you defend me to these people?
What?
How do you defend me to these people who complain about me? You
I just say, hey, I hear you. It's a work in progress.
Well, speaking of a work in progress, we do kind of have like a serious topic to discuss here that's been laying on our minds. I guess if there was a topic to the episode aside from self-promotion, it would be this one. And the idea of marketing a card game in 2024, we didn't know what we were getting into when we started designing this game back in 2022. But it seems like we had the same idea a lot of other people had in the, ever since then. Danny, what are you seeing out there on your Facebook feed as you're looking at, now that we are knee deep in, being the type of people that Facebook wants to show every new game to?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like when you start advertising on Facebook your game, you're going to notice, if you've done any research looking at other people's game, that Facebook's going to then start to show you every single game. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we're seeing is that the market is flooded with new CCGs, new card games, not unlike X Seekers of Fortune in that respect, many of which, possibly most of which, have AI generated images as their art. And look, we get it. We've not been shy about saying during our prototyping stage, we use them for placeholders. We've replaced all of it with human art.
Yes.
But the feeling I think that we get looking at a lot of these products is that a lot of people are going to market with the product that we brought to Comicpalooza 2023 as the first print and play prototype. It feels, it's the AI image generation argument in a nutshell, right? It's a lower cost to produce a game because now the large cost of commissioning art from artists is taken out. So therefore it's lowering a barrier to entry. More people are able to come in, more products are going to flood the market. Now, the thing about that is, yes, you're lowering the cost of production, but how are you lowering the cost of production? You are lowering the cost of production by saying, hey, you guy over there who's an artist, you don't get paid for this anymore. We can do this without you. And it's like, well, how are you doing it without us? Well, we've got a magic box. We've got a magic box that can do it without you. It just makes the pictures. You just put the words and it makes the pictures. And they're like, well, how does it know how to make the pictures? It's like, well, I mean, it looked at a lot of art that like people like you made.
It looked at other pictures by other talented people. And then
did they get paid for it? I don't think so.
No.
Okay. So, it's a hard situation, right? Like, I think that it's a good thing that we've got tools that lower the barrier of entry for more people to be involved in business. But I think it's a bad thing, particularly in the arts, to see people being pushed out of really, really essential creative roles and being replaced by, essentially something that is an amalgamation of the previous work of their colleagues.
Yeah.
And in most cases, the work is collected without any form of compensation to the people who, put all the blood, sweat, and tears into creating that training data.
Yeah, the 100%. The thing I really latch onto, and I do agree that the AI issue, like, why couldn't they make the box that feeds us instead of the box that just rips off our artist and makes art worth financially. I don't want to say worthless, but in the marketplace, it lowers the cost of art basically for artists to make money off of. I'd much rather be eating burritos than being shown knockoff Monets. But the thing that I connect to is X Seekers of Fortune, and it's hard to cast this for all the games that we're seeing out there, but the idea of like people are trying to go to market with what we had back in last year, basically like a year ago today. X Seekers of Fortune has evolved in many ways since that prototype was made, because of the countless play tests and the fact that we couldn't go straight to market. We had to, get our ducks in a row, which meant we had a long time to sit with the game. There was key changes made even months ago that I think made the game so much better, so much more viable for competition, so much more interesting to play, that reignited my passion for the game, because, I was worried that I wasn't quite having the same level of fun, now that, playing a game 500 or 1,000 times can wear on you. But then once we implemented some of these changes, it was like the game not only had fresh air, but it felt like it was healthier. And I am worried about some of these games going straight to market that are going to the market too quickly, that haven't had to go through that many iterations, that many play tests, and just hours upon hours of trying to figure out how to make it the best game it can be. So like I said, I can't speak for all these. There's some of these games that are being marketed that say they've been in years in the making, and I'm sure some of them have been like that. There's people out there who these artificial intelligence tools let them take the game they had always wanted to make but never had the money to hire the artist or get the graphic design down. Now they can bridge those gaps, and maybe they've been working on this game with their local play group for like 18 years, ever since Magic came out, something like that. But I do feel like there's a lot of people seeing the gold rush potential of it all, just trying to get something to market as quickly as possible using these tools. And I just worry about the quality of the games. And, if you're somebody out there and you think you have a game that you put together really quickly and you think it's good and good enough to go to market, why don't you show it to us? Why don't you bring it to Tuesday Night X? We'll play it with all of our playtesters and we'll tell you what we think. But a good game takes a long time to cook. This isn't McDonald's. This isn't fast food. This is, a quality meal made by people who care.
Yeah. I think, the bottom line, I think, is because there are so many new games on the market, of which some may be great and some probably are not. I think it's just overwhelming to consumers. I think that when they get onto Facebook and they see their feed and there's 5 new card games and they all look like they have similar value propositions, or they have similar, AI styled art. Everyone has like its own little, niche. I think at a certain point you just say, well, these all can't be good. I don't even know which one is good, so I'm not going to back any of them. And that's not on them. That's not an issue with the consumer. It's not an issue with any of the other game designers. It's just a reality of the space. And it's something that if you're looking to make your game in 2024 and launch it, really think about as you go in there. The market is more crowded than it's been, I would say, in this space from an indie standpoint. And you really need to have your differentiation figured out and really figure out how you're going to stand out in the crowd, because frankly, that's been something that we've struggled with, is what we thought were really solid, very solid value proposition that we could sell on. A lot of other folks, had a very similar mindset when they produced their games. And so we've had to find other ways to talk about what makes X Seekers of Fortune different and truly something that we believe is worth being experienced by a wide variety of people.
Yeah. But it also it makes me think of the situation we've had recently, Danny, too, is like once you start seeing some games out there, some card games with AI art, you start assuming that all of the card games you're seeing have AI art. We had a bit of let's just say we had a bit of misinformation getting out there from a poster on Facebook reacting to our advertisements, claiming that they believed that we were producing an AI art game. I'm not sure exactly how much you want to litigate this situation, but did you want to talk a little bit about like how we handled the situation and trying to get the right information out there?
Yeah. I mean, I think first and foremost, like, I think it's valid what they said, right? Like there are a ton of AI art games out there. I think it's problematic though to accuse a game of being AI art without validating that. I think you can ask, hey, how did you guys get your art? The reason being is, if you accuse a game that's really human art of being AI art, and, if people jump on that or see that, and then they're like, oh, this is AI art, I'm going to ignore it. Well, now you're actually hurting the artist that you're ostensibly trying to protect by, shunning AI art. So it's difficult. but I understand where they were coming from. I don't think they came from it in the right way. But our response was pretty simple. We just said, hey, totally appreciate that there are a lot of games out there right now that do have AI art. We don't. We fully support human artists, and here are the receipts. And then we showed them, the image from the ad, "Speak the Wild Tongues" by Nate Artars. I feel like I'm not saying that right, but anyway. And just showed the work in progress images through the sketch. If I could have found it, I would have showed them where Joel is literally posing.
Oh yeah, I sent Nate a picture of me going like this, just so he'd have a photo reference. That was like always one of my favorite parts, is like creating those photo references. Exactly like we were saying, and like we had like concept arts, and if you follow Nate at Art of Night, right? Is it Art of Night?
Art of Nate.
Art of Nate. Okay,
but he spells it Neight.
Okay. If you follow him, he even has posts where he shows his progress through creating the art for our game, as well as his other art out there. He has a huge following, by the way, very popular across the world. So if you love anime art, especially, I think he's a huge what is it called? Attack on Titan. He's a huge fan of that and creates a lot of fan art. So go and check him out when you get a chance. But ultimately, yeah, I do agree with you, Danny. It's one thing to go out there and start. It's like you think you have like this foolproof, like, oh, take that, oh, you're using AI art. I'm going to just go around and accusing everybody of that. But then once you accuse somebody who's not using it, and we're very proud of it, we're going to deliver the receipts. So just be, it's one of those things you have to be careful feeding the trolls, but the best way to come back at them is just very professionally and with proof.
Yeah, I wouldn't get into a scrape with anyone in your comment section. That's pretty counterproductive. Mm-hmm. But I do think it's important to, respectfully disagree with them and provide evidence. And I do want to say that the internet is telling me that actually the way you pronounce Nate's last name is Artis.
Oh, that's a great last name for an artist to have.
Yeah, Artis.
Yeah, nice.
Nate Artis.
Oh, Nate, one of my favorite artists. Nate Artis, one of my favorite artists on the game.
Yeah.
He did a great job. I think I would always say that Boban is the soul of X Seekers of Fortune when it comes to the art. His Saturday morning comic book style is just perfect for our setting. But Nate's art for Speak the Wild Tongues as of right now, is my favorite art in the game. And in fact, I don't think you have it right there with you, Danny, but we actually just got some playmats made for our upcoming events to give away to, raffle winners and things like that. Be on the lookout also for us to maybe do a giveaway through our social media channels. So just to be aware. But that playmat for Speak the Wild Tongues, I'm going to have to get myself one of those. It is by far my favorite playmat I've ever seen.
Yeah, 100%.
So, like I said, this was an impromptu episode. We're coming to the end. We only have one other major thing to talk about before we go into the ending of the episode, but we just sort of wanted to lay out some of our projected plans for Moth Studios as a whole. Like, where's this podcast going? We've sort of let you know a lot about the game and the roadmap for the game, but Danny and I really, we sat down to make this podcast, like we said, a year ago after Comicpalooza. We just wanted to get our thoughts and ideas down, just in case we wanted to document this time in our lives. But I've taken to it quite a bit. I think Danny has too. I think you're a natural.
Oh, likewise, Brady.
Thank you.
I don't agree with those people who say that you shouldn't be on the show.
Yeah, no, trust me, they'll get me off the show over my dead body. But
yeah. Well, can you cut that part out just in case? I don't want to get the letters.
Please continue sending letters to Danny. You can find him on TikTok at Moth Studios. But yeah, we're not going to make this a huge announcement right now, but just so you know, we have set up a Patreon out there, and right now all we want is
for it live?
I believe it's live, or it's close to being live. We'll make sure that it's live by the time this episode drops. We're not, we have plans for what that Patreon could have behind it and what the tiers of subscription will be. But for right now, I think we're going to get, leak out or trickle out some bonus content, maybe some stuff that was too hot for the episode. Maybe some things from this episode get cut out from earlier.
A lot of stuff too hot for this episode.
And we'll put it behind that Patreon. And we're just asking you to subscribe just so we can get an idea of how much interest there is. We'll start plugging it every episode, but the reason for this Patreon is we do want to start piloting new episodes in the main feed, or new show concepts in the main feed, I should say. You've already seen us do our first attempts with Excavating the Unknown, our Atlantis episode. Danny put a lot of research into that episode, and I think it came out really well, and we'd love to do some more research-driven episodes like that. But in order to do that, we need to be able to take more time off of work and away from other obligations. And the only way to really do that is to have another source of income coming in. We want to pilot those episodes and see how y'all react to them. We have one coming up this summer. I have a big birthday surprise for you, the audience member, that we're looking forward to. Maybe a returning guest or two will be joining us for something special there. So just be on the lookout for those. Let us know how you like them. Share them with your friends if you love the episodes, and your reaction will tell us which of these to try to make a new spin-off show out of.
And just to be clear, like initially, I think the Patreon we've talked about, it's going to be 2 levels, free, and then there might be like a minor supporting tier of like $1 or something. The way I would pitch the Patreon to the people at home right now is really, we don't know who you are. We haven't really met our audience, so to speak. We know you're out there. We see the numbers, but we wanted to set up a place where we could communicate directly with the people who like the show and want to tell us what they want to see more of, what they want to see less of. I think it would be a great place for us to seed a community specifically for the Super Secret Show.
Correct. So there's a lot of reasons to go out and support the Patreon. We'll be sure to put a link in this episode description. And just, when you have a time, even just subscribing for free, there might not be a lot of content on the free feed, but just knowing that you're out there and that you support the Megamoth Studios Super Secret Podcasts and all the other podcasts we want to create in the future would mean a whole lot to us. And actually, I have a question for the audience, just really quick, right at the end. We've had a lot of guests on. This has turned into an interview show, and we love interviewing people, but we really are hankering to get some guests back. So answer this in the comments or hit us up online. Of all the guests we've had so far, who do you want us to have back the most? I know who my answers are, but I'll keep those to myself.
Okay.
Any thoughts on that, Danny?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of guests that I'd like to see come back, and I'm sure a lot of them will come back at some point, but I am curious who the audience wants to see.
Yeah, exactly. But, now that we've kind of, the idea would be to have a stable of guests, and then for when they come back on, to deep dive into a specific topic that they're interested in that might not be as personal for them, but is, very important to them.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Danny, should we go ahead and move on to our next segment of the podcast?
Let's do it.
Okay. So what do you got for me this week?
So we have our reoccurring segment, 8 to rate, underrated or overrated lightning round.
Okay.
This is the first time we've ever done this without having a guest on the show. So I need to do it to someone. So that someone is you.
I feel like I'm going to be the subject of both the lightning round and the something random. So you're welcome, audience.
There's a lot to subject you to.
Yes.
So I would say for this, just as a quick reminder to everyone how this works, I'm going to give you 8 things, and you're just going to quickly give us under or overrated and why. And, keep it brief.
Okay. You got
All
it,
right.
counselor.
Here we go. Number 1, long hospital stays.
I could write an entire stand-up routine that could last an entire length of a special about hospital stays this long. I will just say that if you're wanting to lose a lot of weight, then it might be a good thing, but it feels like prison after a certain amount of time, especially when you're on day 3 past the day that they told you could probably leave because they're waiting for some test results. So overrated.
Overrated.
It's not a vacation.
Okay. All right. Velcro shoes.
If you need Velcro shoes, bless your heart. I do apologize for, your life going the way that it did, but they are so overrated. Now, a Velcro on a shoe that has laces, but for me, I'm in laces gang. I don't even like shoes that are slip-ons for the most part. Laces are nada, so overrated on Velcro shoes.
Having all your fingers.
Completely, I would say underrated. They all serve a purpose. I've been having some hand pains. I think I'm probably starting to get the arthritis, and just the idea of my hands not working properly, and thinking about all the different, all the different memories I've had with these 10 guys. These fingers, they're underrated. I mean, like the pinky, you think you could lose this one, maybe in an emergency, but trust me, there's things that you do with this pinky that you would so dearly miss.
Tipping your delivery driver.
Underrated. It's very important. Your delivery driver, if they work for one of the major pizza chains, all that tip, that's what they're working for. Their hourly barely covers their bills. The mileage, you might have heard that they get a little bit of money for every delivery they make. Yeah, it's a little bit of money, very small. It basically covers our gas at most. What we are working for is the tips. So please be generous. Here's my guide for you. If when in doubt, $5, we'll be happy when we see $5 as the tip. If you feel like you didn't get that much, they didn't have to go that far, you can go below, but $5, I think, should be the for delivery driving or delivery orders should be the floor, and then feel free to feel generous about that.
I got you. Okay, Here we go.
Yeah,
we're on the back half, the back four.
Gotcha.
Crying when you think about elephants.
I mean, I think that's underrated, because anything that could make me cry would be a cherished memory or a cherished experience. I'm not an easy cry. I think I've mentioned on this podcast before that the last time I cried was at a movie that I saw like almost 10 years ago at this point. The last time that I had a serious 30-minute long sob session. I wish I had that key to turn to just let it go. It kind of captures me at opportune moments, and often it's like a sneeze that doesn't go through. It's like I'm like, it doesn't come out, and it feels very unsatisfying. So completely underrated. Crying at elephants.
I feel like you on this podcast have said you cry every time you think of elephants.
I don't think so, Danny. Audience, go back and check the records. If there is evidence of me saying that, make it into a montage. Share it on TikTok.
Red Robin steak fries.
I know why you're asking me about this. One time, Danny had me sit down, or didn't have me. He just challenged me that there was a bottomless fry refill at Red Robin's, and Danny and his brother Lucas were there with me, and they challenged me to eat 100 of the steak fries. Now these aren't, these are steak fries. We're talking about each fry is like that long and like that thick. We're talking multiple potatoes worth of fry here. And I'm always up for a challenge.
You're saying there's multiple potatoes in each French fry?
No. Just like multiple, to eat 100 of them would be mini potatoes worth of fries. Send me out to, a McDonald's style fry. I could eat 100 of those easy. I could ball them up and just chew them down. These were substantial. And I forget exactly what happens. I don't think I made it to 100. I think I got into the mid 80s, if I remember correctly.
Maybe 60s.
Ah, come on. Now I wish I had, I wish I had
Lucas would know.
Yeah, Lucas, I'm sure he seared it into his mind. But you know what I'm going to say? Those fries were still good, even at the end. The only thing that kept me from going was just purely being stuffed, but I was still enjoying the fries. Underrated. Steak fries for life.
Orange cats.
They live up to the hype. Now, whether or not you like that hype, I got a fur ball here who's just a ball of chaos, who does not come. The only time that he sits in my lap is when he catches me in the bathroom. So, I would say, for me, I don't know if it's like having a roommate that you don't totally like. I love the kid. I love my orange cat, but I feel like we have different wavelengths of affection. So I am going to say, for me, it's a little overrated. I could have maybe gone with a cat that was much more like a lap cat. But I think if you're looking to have just energy in your household, if you're looking for chaos, which some people are, they need chaos in their lives, an orange cat, totally underrated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ben from AFEC claiming to be a lawyer amongst other things.
Between you and me, I know that Ben has claimed to be quite a few things. Now, I'm not sure if that makes it over or underrated. I think that it's underrated just how sneaky he is, making these claims and then saying that acting confused when you call him out for it. Yeah. So I think his prowess and his ability to fabricate a reality that we all have to embrace and live in until otherwise informed is a underrated set of skills. Very L. Ron Hubbard of him, may I say.
You heard it here first. Ben from Affect is basically L. Ron Hubbard.
All right,
that's
Dan.
it.
Awesome. I really enjoyed that game. I hope our guests enjoy it as much as I do. I could do that. I could do that for hours, actually. Normally we ask about key takeaways, but that's just to summarize our guests' points. I think my key takeaway is I enjoy rating things.
Yeah.
So, folks, why don't we go ahead and ask you right now? In fact, I'm going to do it the right way. Will, I do apologize. I should have done that earlier. We're going to ask you to like and subscribe to the show. Now, we're making this a short episode. I'm going to make it a short plea. Basically, first of all, if you're on YouTube, our favorite platform, YouTube, please just open up your app right now, whether it be on your desktop or your mobile, and hit the like button. That's all you have to do. Hit that like button. It goes poof, confetti. Ha ha ha. So wonderful. So wonderful. Confetti. But you don't just have to stop right there. In fact, that's just the first step in your journey to becoming our best friends. Did you want a best friend? You got a best friend right here in me. Boom, right here. So you're going to hit that subscribe button. That unlocks that. That's great that you hit the subscribe button, but it unlocks the notifications icon, that bell. You know that bell that we ring, ding-a-ding-ding, every time this podcast comes hot out of the oven. Ah, ooh, so hot. Ah. All right, folks. So you got that? You got the bell? If you got the bell, top tier. You don't have to worry about anything else. You're a top tier member of the Megamoth Society. We're going to make it the Megamoth Society from here on out. But new inductees into the Megamoth Society, they might not like YouTube. They might like using their ears instead of their eyes. 3 blind mice. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell them that they can download our podcasts on their favorite podcatching app. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on, Overcast, I'm sure. Please go. You can go and find us on whatever application you use. And if you can't find us there, you can find us on Podbean, and they will link you to our show. So you have no excuses. No excuses at all. Like, subscribe, and tell a friend about it. We love you. All right, Danny. Do you got something for me?
Yeah, I do. So it is time for something random. That's usually something you say, but I'll say it today because I'm a good co-host.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So this one's interesting. This one is a different kind of quiz game than we've played in the past, because this one is going to require you to react to something audio. I've got some clips I'm going to play for you, and you have to tell me what they are.
This is amazing. I'm already really down for this.
All right. So here it is. Here's the game. I'm going to play 5 clips for you. You have to identify the clips. And all I'm going to give you to go off of, besides playing them for you, is the category. And the category is animal mating calls. So here we go.
Okay.
Number 1. Are you ready?
I'm as ready as I'm going to be for something like this.
What do you think that was?
I think whatever it was, it is thirsty and crying about it. That is like definitely some begging sounds if I've ever heard some. That's like some outdoors with the, the stereo hanging above your head trying to win back your love. But, I mean, it sounded like a trumpet of sorts, so I'm going to have to default to an elephant because it just sounds like it's coming from like kind of a very like trumpety, trombone kind of instrument, like an elephant's trunk.
Well, you broke up a little bit there. I think it might be something on my side, probably because the stream is running, but that is incorrect. It was a humpback wheel.
Oh, wow. It didn't sound very underwater. Was that like cleaned up somehow, or
I don't think so. Let me see if you hear it now.
I mean, I guess so. I mean, in the sense of like, it sounds like an expansive, infinite space. Like, now that I'm thinking about it, it does not sound like there's like hills or trees around that. So I could see it now.
All right. Well, you got that one wrong. Humpback
Okay.
whale, you don't know what they sound like when they're mating
Obviously
or
not.
trying to mate. All right.
Yeah,
You ready for the next
I'm
one?
gonna put the try in that. That sounded very, very much like somebody who was sad that they weren't mating.
All right.
I know because I've been there.
All right. What about this one?
Okay.
What do you think about that one?
Well, I have to say that a lot smoother, a lot more confidence in that mating call, I would say. And also, I feel like there's a wingman there, which is appropriate because I think that's a winged creature, a bird of some sort. I'm going to go with the hooing being very owl-esque, so I'm going to say it's an owl of some sort.
That's incorrect. It is a prairie chicken.
A prairie chicken. Okay, so it was a feathered, feathered creature.
Correct, but we don't award points for wrong answers around here.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that I got much closer to the hole than on the elephant versus whale. But yeah, like I said, much smoother approach. What'd you call it? Prairie chicken? Prairie chicken. Yeah, I could see you're wearing the sunglasses inside. You're smooth about it. You're sweet with it. You're going to succeed.
Okay. Here we go. Here's another one.
Okay.
What do you think?
All right, kid. I just got to say, you got to save some for the actual game. You're leaving it all off the field. Like that was all your performance inside of the mating in your mating call. I mean, are you trying to show them exactly what they can expect? Because I'll tell you this: if what I heard there was to be expected, not interested. You need to take it back to the drawing board, whatever animal that is, which I'm going to guess was a donkey. It had the very jackass, like, kind of thing going on that you expect from a laughing donkey.
Okay, I'll give you that. It was a donkey, but what state was the video recorded in?
Wait, okay, so goalpost moved.
All right, well, you get half a point.
I'm just going to guess. It did sound like there was an English-speaking woman there, so the chances of it being America are relatively. It's an educated guess. I'm going to say Montana. I just imagine there being donkeys in Montana.
Nope, that was in Mexico. Okay,
Damn.
You ready?
Okay, yeah, I'm ready.
Here we go.
Mm-hmm. Was that done?
Yeah, that's it.
That was it, huh? Yeah, that's what she's going to be saying too. Once she hears that mating call, she's going to know exactly where her night's going. If the donkey put it all out there, this one too coy, too silent. You're not getting anybody's attention with that, buddy. Grasshopper, I assume.
So this is actually a water boatman. It is an insect, so you're not wrong about that. Now, there's some interesting things about the water boatman that I wanted to share with you because this seemed like the kind of knowledge that you would want to have in particular.
Okay.
So, believe it or not, the water boatman is the loudest creature relative to its size. Okay.
All right.
And that noise it's making is not actually a vocal call. Do you know how they make that noise?
Well, that's why I thought it was a grasshopper, because I think don't grasshoppers click their like hind legs or their their thighs together to create their noise. So I'm assuming it's something similar, like they're flapping their wings together or something to that effect.
I don't really know anything about grasshoppers, so probably not. But this is a very different situation, but not too different. The water boatman uses his as a percussive instrument against his abdomen.
Okay, well, I guess
Why do you look so jealous?
I might have to take back the things I said about it not putting in enough effort, knowing that that's like the loudest sound to its size. It must be minuscule, but it's definitely working with something downstairs if it can make a noise that loud compared to its body size. So maybe I've been humbled, Danny. You could say I've been humbled, about this information.
By a water boatman. Okay.
By
Last one.
Boatman.
Are you ready for this?
I know now what I want to come back as in the next life.
I really hope this is picking up locally on your end because it's cutting out for me.
Okay, let me. I'll let you know if I can hear it.
Okay. All right. You ready for the last one?
Oh yeah, I thought you were playing it already.
Okay.
I'm sure if you asked my ex-girlfriend, she would have said, that sounds like a recording of Joel when he's trying to make the moves on me. That sounded enough like a distant cousin. I'm going to have to go with like a gorilla, like that sounds too much like a human mating call for it not to be.
It is not.
Okay.
That is the mating call of a koala bear.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
They think they're very cute, but man, they get down bad.
Dude, I saw a video of a koala bear maul a child recently.
Oh, no. Oh.
I don't think it did a lot of damage. It probably scraped up his face, but everyone was like, what the heck is happening? Because it's like coming at him and then it just jumps on him. It was a video. It was interesting.
Yeah. Those are the kind of videos like, I will say like one thing that scares me about TikTok as an app to use is I don't like random stuff coming up, if that makes sense. Like I've lived in the wild days of the internet where somebody will just send you a link and you'll see the most horrific thing you've ever seen in your life. And I feel like I'm just sensitive to that trigger in TikTok.
I see a lot of that stuff on TikTok. I see a lot of it on Instagram.
That's fair. I mean, and I'm sure like they have great content moderation. But just the idea that all I am is to swipe away from something I don't want to see scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, I've definitely gone down some weird roads on Instagram because the algorithm on Instagram is very different than the algorithm on TikTok. On TikTok, it's like pretty much like all games and nerd stuff. On Instagram, it's all animals doing weird things.
Well, your two biggest passions in life, Danny. I know that to be true. Did you have a name for that game?
Yeah, it's called, well, actually, I don't want to reveal the name of the game until I asked you the ultimate question, the final question, which is, you've heard them now. Who are you going to mate with?
Man, I thought your question of the week writing was already digging me a bad enough hole. I mean, you might as well call this episode Joel digs himself a grave and puts himself into it. Honestly, of all of those, I got to give it to the prairie chicken. I think he was the smoothest about it. He had his boys backing him up. That guy, I would want him in my crew, and in another life, brother.
Well, I know you couldn't see them, but I will tell you the prairie chicken was the most attractive of all the animals.
I could tell. He had the confidence, the swagger. Everybody else was kind of like, a woe is me kind. And he was more of the, what's up, babe? You want some of this?
The name of this game was called Mating Calls. Which animal would you sleep with? It's perfectly fine to say none of them because I wouldn't sleep with an animal. And that's something random for this week.
Well, thank you so much for that, Danny. I was trying to figure out some way of making down the Outback and down bad work together, so I if I figure it out, I'll post it to Threads or something else like that. But I think that my mouth gets me in so much trouble when I think I have to answer, and I don't have to. Ask Kervin about it. So that was our episode for the week. A shorter one. We just wanted to give you some updates. We will be back next week with a guest and more updates about our upcoming appearance at Comicpalooza 2024. Danny, is there anything else that we didn't cover that Megamoth Studios has coming up?
Well, I would say Geek Out, but by the time that this airs, Geek Out will be in the rearview mirror. We're going there this Friday. Comicpalooza is really what to look out for, and the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter goes live June 4th, and it is something that we have been working on for well over a year and would love your support. You can follow us on Kickstarter on our pre-launch page. If you want to reserve that Ancestral Dream promo, you can do so at presale.xseekersoffortune.com. And please join us on Facebook, where we have our Seekers Guild, and on the Discord, where we meet every Tuesday night for Tuesday Night X to play the game and just hang out with friends. I mean, there's a great crew of people there. The first hour is usually a lot of gameplay. The second hour is a lot of memeing and joking and having a good time. So come out if you're looking for a fun thing to do on a Tuesday night with some cool people. We have a lot of them on the server.
100%. We have some of the best people over there on that server. And thank you so much, Danny, for reminding us about Tuesday Night X. But I think that's been it for the Megamoth Studios Super Secret Podcast for this week. I would like to thank you, Danny, my co-host, for joining us. And I have been Joel, reminding you that you must start somewhere. So why not here? Thanks for listening.
Theme music by James Hilden, produced and edited by William Wymore.
Who are you gonna?
The Prairie Chicken. We're going to do it at the Waffle House.